Hey guys, I'm Mental Mantis. I am an ex-unista, and I was in the uni for about, I don't know, 8 to 9 months. I'm in Agony Unleashed at the moment, and it's in uni that I basically started getting interested in PvP. It's in the uni where I started solo PvP, which is what we're going to be talking about today, and sort of experimenting around with different tactics and ships, fittings, etc. So hopefully today I will be passing you on some of that knowledge that I gained over some time and that I've been taught in Agony. First of all, I'd like to know, give me an X in the class.E-UNI. How many of you have actually tried PvPing solo or have gone out, gotten some kills, whatever? Just basically tried going out there and killing stuff on your own. Cool. So we have quite a bit of people. For those of you that have gone out, I'm pretty sure you'll have faced some of the common difficulties. One is basically finding the fight. If you can, it's hard to find fights usually, especially in our time zone. At the current time zone, there aren't many people logged in, or systems are too crowded. Especially in the uni, I used to feel obviously that it's pretty tough to find a fight in low sec here. You're usually looking for just red flashies. And otherwise it's just, even in low sec, you're usually fighting at belts or just off gates if it's a red flashy. It is quite difficult to get a fight. We'll be covering that a little bit later. The second biggest problem that I always used to feel was, once you found a fight, once you found somebody to engage, more often than not, you get ganked by some of their corp members or anybody that person's been playing with. And we'll address that up too a little later. And the third is the actual execution of solo PvP while you're in the fight. What do you do to basically maximize your chances of fighting successfully? So that's about overall basically what we'll be talking about today. First of all, finding the fight. Now, while I was in the uni, I started trying to solo PvP in low sec. Tama was specifically my system of choice, and it was tough. It was very tough because every time I'd find a fight, I'd get ganked, or the person would basically, outmaneuver me with his tactics or had a better ship or whatever. It was very tough in the beginning. More about that, getting fights on gates wasn't, it doesn't happen in low sec that often. You have to go to a belt, and you're at the mercy of the people over there if they want to fight you or not. So yeah, that was my experience with low sec. And after I joined Agony, I discovered this whole other world called nullsec. And, in the beginning, nullsec was scary. Anybody can attack you without gate guns to protect you, without station guns, whatever. And I soon learned that, it's actually easier to get a fight in nullsec than it is in lowsec. And not only that, if you can get past the entry systems into nullsec, it's actually a lot safer to be in nullsec than in lowsec if you know the game mechanics. And this was a realization, and even till to this day, I'm used to nullsec now. I go into lowsec, I go into highsec, and I get scared. There are just way too many people in local. I don't know what to monitor, what to look out for, too many ships on my scanner, etc. And I'd recommend to any uni who wants to try this and start out is try to go to some NPC nullsec areas. As I said, getting in is the toughest part, but once you're in there, it's a lot easier to find fights. Don't just concentrate on low sec. Alright, do you have any questions up to now? Alright. Um, once you've, NPC nullsec areas are, yeah, great wildlands, great place. Curse, Syndicate, yeah, great places. Actually, I don't know about Curse. Curse might be self-territory, in which case Uni is not allowed to go there. Alright. So yeah, getting ganked in nullsec, well, yeah, you do get ganked, and I'm going to address that a little later. How to avoid that, basically. And in lowsec, it's just, oh god, it is so tough to not get ganked in lowsec. The problem stems from the fact that there are just way too many people in high and lowsec, too many ships on scan. It's very hard to be aware of your surroundings, and that's a topic that we'll be coming to, is situational awareness, in which I'll talk about, some pointers, basically, how to minimize getting ganked. Alright, what are the prerequisites of solo PvP? The first, and I think one of the most important parts of solo PvP, is using your D-scan. You must be familiar with using your D-scan, how and practice pinpointing ships, warping to the ships, getting a feel of where that ship may be in the system. D-scan is your friend. I mean, you won't be finding many fights without it. So practice using D-scan. The shorter amount of time it takes to scan down a person, the more chances of success you will have. The second prerequisite, after you've found your system or a bunch of systems where you'd like to focus on, start making on-grid safe spots. On-grid from gates, on-grid from asteroid belts if it's low-sec, places like that. And you want, on every gate, you want at least one on-grid safe. This makes it a lot easier to check out a certain area that you think there may be ships, but you're not certain, without actually getting attacked and getting ganked by a lot of other people. So the two things are D-scan and making on-grid safes. Alright, so you've practiced D-scan, you've made your on-grid safes. What next? There's a certain thing that we like to call in Agony, it's called situational awareness. Now, situational awareness, while it's one of the most important parts of PvP, is really got with experience and just going around there and trying out different things in your ship. It's one of those things where somebody, I'll tell you right now what situational awareness is, but you're really not going to learn about it until you go out there and do it by yourself. Situational awareness is basically who is in local. How many pilots are there? What kind of ships are they flying? Are there people in your adjacent systems? What's on D-scan? What kind of ships can you engage? And what kind of ships should you just run away from? These kinds of things, well, obviously with time you'll get. Biggest threats to small ships and our frigate-sized ships, which we'll be talking about today, are ships with large newts or bonus newts, like a Curse, or a ship which has bonus drones, and a lot of them, like a Vexor, or even a ship that spans small missiles like a standard missile, like a Caracal with assault launchers, These kinds of ships you just want to stay away from. A rapier. A rapier has amazing bonuses to webs. It'll slow you down. You can't do a lot of things which we're going to learn today, without speed. Yes, an Ishkur. Stay away from an Ishkur. Unless you're, of course, in an Ishkur. Fast ships are dangerous too. For example, ships that are faster than you are. For example, Dremel. Stay away from Dremels. Alright, so we know, and you learn a lot about ships that you need to stay away from. Daredevil, I would take on a Daredevil any day. I have really no respect for that ship at all. For some reason. Okay, we're going to come to why choose frigates? I love soloing in frigates because they're fast, they're agile, they're hard to hit. It's easier to get out with one of them. It's easy to catch ships with, and they're dirt cheap. We have members in our corp in Agony who swear by the Rifter. They have hundreds and hundreds of solo kills in a Rifter. I mean, a Rifter versus a Megatron, or a Rifter versus a Vagabond. Insane kills, but it's possible with when you know what your ship is capable of and you know what the other ship is about to do. So, can somebody list, or can you guys list, what are the different kinds of tanking that we have in EVE? List a few. Right. Buffer, active, passive, that's great. Armor, shield, speed. Fame tanking, yeah, like a Drake. Alright, so, I like to classify tanking into three main categories. Buffer or resistance tanking. That's the first. Second is active tanking, where you have reppers on your ship and you're actively repairing your ship, or you're being repaired by another one. And the third, which frigs excel in, is called avoidance tanking. Avoidance tanking is basically using any of your ship's abilities to avoid damage. This could be your signature, or signature tanking. It could be your speed, or it could even be ECM or E-War modules that will basically allow you to mitigate damage. And this is why frigates are so awesome at basically tanking other bigger ships. Yes, angular velocity is a part of avoidance tanking. Alright. So, say you're in low sec or null sec, and you found on your D-scan a ship that you want to go after. Well, there are several ways to get the fight. Getting a fight is, there's various techniques to get a fight out of either a group of ships or a single ship. One is the standard gate camping, which in the uni we've all learned that. But the problem with gate camping is that if you're solo, it's very easy to get ganked by any ship that's on the other side. You don't know what's on the other side. The other problem is that it's very easy for anybody who doesn't want to engage you to go right back through the gate and use the gate timers against you. The other tactic is separating a group. suppose you come across a group of ships. Now, a small little roaming fleet, about 4 or 5. This is a tactic that, a faster, smaller ships can use. Basically use your safes that you've created around that area, warp to that safe, and then start powering towards the group. Now, most likely what would happen is if they do want to engage you, and they probably will, you're in a small little frigate alone, and there are 4 to 5 ships, they'll start powering towards you. Now, there'll be some ships that are faster, and some ships that are slower. So you want to basically let them power towards you, and try to get the fastest ship that's approaching you. So he's going to be approaching you, and once you close in the distance, you can try to tackle him. However, you always have to keep in mind that while you're tackling him, always be within 150 kilometers away from anybody else in the group. The reason for this is that if you're greater than that distance, any other person can warp straight to you. It's called a mini warp. So that's basically how a lot of ships, basically can weed out enemies and start fighting them one-on-one rather than finding everybody together. This is a tactic that is used by a lot of cruisers, Minotaur cruisers, which are faster, like the Rupture. It's great for using that tactic. The other tactic is called fishing. Fishing basically involves using Eve's game mechanics to your favor. Okay, well, you're going to be one of the most agile and fastest warping ships. And if you come across the same group, what you can do is warp to a celestial at about 70 to 100, whatever, at some random range, but not at 0. Let the faster ships in that group warp to the celestial as well. Once they do that, you warp to another celestial. Do this, a couple of times, and what will happen is you'll have separated the group where the faster ships are now chasing you and the slower ships are still trying to align and basically catch up with you. You'll have sufficient amount of time, if you do this, to engage at will at any of the celestials. The next, which is probably one of my favorites, is bubble camping. Obviously, you can only do this in nullsec. Basically, all you need is, I think, anchoring 1, and you can anchor a small mobile warp bubble. This will allow you to create either catch or drag bubbles in nullsec. You can catch or drag at a gate by placing or anchoring the bubble within 70 kilometers in line with another gate. It's probably the easiest and the safest way to engage people. It's pretty easy. All you have to do is wait for people or ships to come on D-scan. Sorry about that. You have to just, as soon as ships come into the system, keep on spamming D-scan and wait at the edge of the bubble. If your bubble is aligned correctly, it will basically catch ships that are trying to warp gate to gate. And on D-scan, if obviously if you find 1 or 2 ships, go ahead and try to engage them. If you find more, use your on-grid safes to warp away and to get to safety. Alright, do we have any questions so far? Yeah, no, I'm going a little fast with this. I had prepared like a ton of notes and my damn computer crashed and I lost all of it. Alright, I'm not going to be discussing much about fittings or ship choices today because the reason for that, any ship has a variety of fittings, and depending on your fitting, you're going to have a different tactic while getting into the fight. For example, a blaster Tyrannus is going to try to get up close and personal with the guys, versus a rail-fitted Tyrannus. He's going to try to keep range on the opponent and to avoid damage that way. So it really depends on what your ship fit is and the ship that you're actually in at the moment. Alright, so once you've evaluated your opponent, you've pinned him down, now you got to tackle him. Alright, if your opponent is a little far away, greater than 10 kilometers away, you want to tackle him. Now, I'm assuming that everybody here has gone through basics of tackling. How do you approach this opponent? You need to keep your transversal of your ship very high, or as high as possible. In order to do that, exactly, never go straight for the guy. Spiral, exactly, good. Spiral into your opponent. Now, in order to do this, very easy way, keep the opponent's ship in the center of your screen and double click repeatedly at approximately 45 degrees away from him. This will allow you to approach him and yet keep your transversal high. Why do we do this? To, keep transversal velocity high. Guns, all guns basically do minimal damage when your transversal is high. We have a low sig radius, so it's going to be very tough for them to hit us. So while you're tackling your opponent, while you're spiraling into your opponent, evaluate what he's doing. This is the time where you sort of can judge what kind of fit, or what if the guy is long-ranged fit, is he short-ranged. This is the time where you can usually judge that. If your opponent is trying to power away, well, he's obviously long-range fit. He wants to try to snipe you, in which case, keep that transversal high. If you need some extra speed to get up to him close, you can overheat your propulsion mod, which either is Afterburner or MWD. The next thing is look at what drones he has out. If he has any medium or heavy drones, well, you can probably ignore those. They will not do much damage to you as long as your transversal is pretty high. If your opponent is powering towards you, well, he's probably short range fit. Great. That's good for us, because if he's short range fit, he's probably going to close the distance faster than he can lock you. And once you have successfully tackled him, which can either be scramming him or using a point on him, try getting under his guns. Now, what does getting under the guns mean? Most guns, or all guns, basically have a small little range in which they will do 0 damage to you. This is usually around 0 to 500 meters. So try to get within that range as fast as possible. Once you're in that range, shut off your propulsion mod, either your Afterburner or MWD, and orbit the ship. If you keep your propulsion mod on, chances are that the inertia of your ship will actually pull you out of the 500 meter range, and you'll basically get shot at and take damage. Alright, so we've successfully pinpointed our enemy, our opponent. We successfully tackled him. What next? The next thing is basically to concentrate on your greatest threat. Your greatest threat in a small frigate are small drones. So, if the ship has small drones on you, what I like to do a lot of the times is keep him scrammed or pointed, take my web off him if I have a web equipped, put it on the drones, and start hitting the drones. Hobgoblins and Warrior 2s, I can usually two-shot in a Blaster Tyrannus, and they're gone basically before the enemy really knows about it. Once you're done and you've gotten rid of the small drones, it's basically up to, if you make a mistake and you get out of the 0 to 500 meter range, other than that, the ship probably won't be able to do any damage to you. Right, so you've gotten rid of his drones. Now put your web back onto the opponent and start overheating your guns and start chewing away at him. Alright, during this time you want to be spamming D-scan and making sure that local, it hasn't risen, you're not getting ganked by anybody, and look at what ships are on scan. If you suddenly come across 2 or 3 interceptors on D-scan will try to get out. How do you get out? Well, there's various ways. Either, if you know that you're about to finish him off, overheat your guns, finish him off, and then warp off. Otherwise, what you can do is, just like we spiraled in and tried to tackle him, you can try to spiral out. This requires a little practice. You basically have to have this ship exactly behind you and monitor your transversal on your overview while clicking at about approximately 45 degrees away. Once you're out of his scram or point range, then warp to a celestial that is approximately aligning to. I wouldn't suggest using orbit at progressive ranges. The reason for this is, the funny thing about Eve is, as soon as you click on another orbit range, sometimes your ship will stop right there and then start orbiting in a completely different direction. I know it'll go from clockwise to counterclockwise. During this time, your transversal is 0. So you'll basically be taking full damage from him, and you can probably you might get one-shotted by him. So if you want to get out, your best way is to fly your ship manually. Yeah, you don't want to be burning straight out either. Your transversal will be very low, and you're likely to get shot. The best way again is manual flying. Just try to keep yourself, keep the ship right behind you and clicking 45 degrees away. Alright, here's another tactic that I love using, and while trying to get out. If you know that the other ship has a scram fitted and not a web, and you have a web and a scram, what you can do is overheat your web. Your web will now have approximately 13 kilometer range, and your scram will have about 10 kilometers. This is going to allow you to basically get from 10 to 12 kilometers away from him and then warp out without him basically chasing you down. Since you have your web on, and your web has a larger range than his scram, his overheated scram. An overheated scram has about 10 kilometers on it. Alright. Sometimes you'll come across ships which are going to try to keep, which have basically points on them, warp disruptors on them, not scrams, and they're going to try to keep range on you. It's going to make your life a lot more difficult to try to get in range and to get a scram on him. They're going to be using their MWD and orbiting you at around 13 to 15 kilometers. What do you do in this kind of situation? Since you might be in a slightly slower ship, you can't approach him because he'll have kept, either orbit at 10 or orbit at 13, and he'll just get right away from you. So what do you do? Example is, for example, if I was in an Ishker with an afterburner fit, and not an Ishker. Suppose I was in a Harpy. I was in a Harpy and with an afterburner fit, and a crow comes along with a disruptor and points me. Well, he's going to be orbiting around 13 to 15 kilometers, and if I have a scram and web, I can't touch him. So I like to use slingshotting in this particular case. What is slingshotting? Slingshotting is basically using EVE motion mechanics to your advantage. So here's how it works. First, manually fly away from him with your afterburner or micro warp drive on. Now, as soon as it's about to finish its cycle, turn it off. Now, as soon as it turns off and the cycle is finished, click approach on your opponent. Overheat your propulsion mod and turn it right back on. What's going to happen is that as soon as your propulsion mod is off, Eve thinks now that, well, there is no propulsion mod on, so the ship is now allowed to align faster, just as if it didn't have anything on it. And you'll basically align faster than him, your opponent, since he has his MWD on, or afterburner on. And once you've overheated and hit your propulsion mod, you're going to burn straight towards him. And the great thing about this is, if you've noticed, once you turn off your propulsion mod, you have a few 1 or 2 seconds in which your speed is still a lot more than what it would normally be. And while doing this, you'll basically shoot right into approximately 10 or 11 kilometers. Turn on your web him, and then you can basically scram him after that, and then he's toast. I've done that on several occasions, in Rannis versus a crow, or a Rannis versus a claw, malediction, whatever. It's pretty easy once you practice it. Do you have any questions so far? Alright. So we've gone over slingshotting, overheating, focusing on your greatest threats, situational awareness, tackling. Alright, how many of you overheat on a usual basis? Whenever you're out on a fleet and you're starting to engage, tell me what you're going through. Does anybody overheat their propulsion mods, their scrams, their webs? If you've done that, you have noticed that propulsion mods burn out a lot faster than any other module. The slowest to burn out, depending on sort of how you've configured your ship, are usually your weapons. They're very, very slow to burn out. So be careful while overheating your propulsion mods, and use it sparingly. Out of habit, I now, whenever I enter a new system, I pre-overheat my scram and my web. keep that in mind. Always do that. You get that extra range, and it's very useful at times. All right. Another tactic when you want to get out. If you're in a small ship like Ishker, you'll have an extra bay for drones. If you have ECM drones, great, use them. And spam warp to get out. As soon as your ECM drones jam that person, you can get out. Yeah, forget about your drones. They're a lot cheaper than your ship. I'd recommend that you guys fit up any T1 frigs, go out there and practice. I personally used to practice in a Merlin. Rifters are great. Tristan, it doesn't matter. They're all cheap, easy to fit, and don't worry about losing them. I think solo PvPing not only is one of the most exhilarating experiences. Once the first kill that you get is probably one of the most satisfying experiences in EVE, and you learn a ton from solo PvPing. You learn about your other ships' fits, what they're capable of, what to watch out for, and in general, I think people who are good at solo PvPing are very decent SCs as well. No, Amar frigs are great. They're fine. I think that the only issue with an Amar frig is that it's they don't do as much damage as probably other, or they're not as fast and don't do as much damage as other frigs. But other than that, I mean, yeah, a Punisher is great. A Punisher is great to solo in. One of the problems with Amar ships is, yeah, exactly. As Yamir said, it has a low mid-slot count. If you can get around with it. Just have either an Afterburner or MWD, and just one warp disruptor or scram on it, and you should be fine. I'd recommend first starting out with Afterburner on your solo ships. Once you get a hang of your ship, you can either switch to an MWD and learn to switch it off when you start coming into range of your enemy, or you can go for a dual propulsion fit. A lot of Ranuses these days are dual propulsion fit. They have both an MWD and an Afterburner, specifically for that reason. Sorry, I didn't catch Keg's question on the Incursus. Yeah, Incursus, I mean, guys, there's really no bad ship to fly. As long as it's not like a Bantam or some ship like that, you're fine to fly it as long as you know what your ship is capable of. See, the great thing about T1 frigs is anybody is going to, everybody wants to go and fight it because it's just a small little T1 frig. It's easy to get fights in. It's hard to get a fight in Ishker. Ishker has a ton of drones, and everybody knows that, an Ishker is tanky. It's gonna chew through any other frig. Alright, so do you guys have any questions about specific tactics, about, I don't know, overheating, whatever? Alright, let's take this one at a time. Yeah, brother, I basically preach that, you just take a bunch of rifters. Just take, 40, 50 rifters, fit them up, place them in a place, that's close by where you want to solo PvP from, and go out there. The I think one of the most important things in solo PvPing is knowing the systems that you want to PvP in, knowing who the people in them are, basically what they try to fly, which gates are in range, etc. Alright, Quiggle, suggestions on getting into nullsec. Since you're in a frigate, trust me, it's a lot easier to get into nullsec than it is in any other ship. It's pretty simple. Once you get to the gate, jump through, and while you're cloaked, wait for your session timer. This is the time where you can gather information. Alright, is the gate bubbled? How many people are there around you? Are there any other fast ships that can chew you up? If so, as soon as your session timer basically ends, turn around and burn straight to the gate and get back out. It's pretty simple. Well, you'll be surprised actually. Regional gates, since a lot of the entry points to nullsec are regional gates, are pretty heavily camped. 5-6 bubbles. Agony lives in Providence, and we have a entry system, Y-M, that's right next door. It's a regional gate, and Atlas love to put a crap load of bubbles up there. It's not very scary for us since we're used to it. But yeah. Alright, Victor's question, behave, how do you behave basically if you have a different fit? Very good question. So suppose I was in a Rail Tyrannus. Rail Tyrannus has a range of about approximately 12 to 13 kilometers, depending on what ammo you choose, and I'll have a Warp Disruptor and not the Scram fit on it. Yes, while tackling, you're obviously going to want to keep out of the opponent's Scram range because you're going to be using an MWD and not an Afterburner. And while you are keeping your transversal up, obviously you don't want to necessarily get under the guns, but you want to stay out of range, out of his Scram range. So yeah, above 10 kilometers, 12 kilometers. Do you roam systems or sit in one system? Good question. Very good question. I do a bit of both, basically. In my cargo hold, I usually have one small mobile warp disruptor when I'm flying through nullsec. If I feel like camping a system, I basically find a pipeline system where there's sufficient amount of traffic, not too much though, to be of a problem. I'll set my bubble up as a catch or drag bubble on one of the gates and camp on that. Or if I feel like roaming, I'll go to different systems. I'll use .LAN. I have basically 3 screens open, one for my main client and one with .LAN open. .LAN basically tells me how many NPC kills there were in a specific system. I'll go to that system and look for radders. And obviously, in order to get the radar, you have to use your D-scan, pinpoint him, try to tackle him, all that good stuff. Do you suggest going in from high sec to null sec, or go through low first? I don't know if this is a question in general PvPing. I mean, do you want to start out PvPing in high sec, then move to low sec? Okay, so this is the path, the route that you want to take. Yeah, alright. So the path you want to take, I mean, it really doesn't matter. If you're familiar with the systems surrounding, if you're going through low sec, for example, well, you want to use your safes, your on-grid safes onto the gates, warp to your on-grid safes, and then down to the gate, because obviously low sec has a lot of those stupid smart bombing battleships. Hate those guys. And then yeah, go through the gate. Other than that, it really doesn't matter. You go through low sec, or high sec. It really doesn't matter. For example, Providence has entry points directly into high sec. Or when Agony used to live in Syndicate, it went through a lot of low sec and then into null sec. Doesn't really matter as long as you know the area, you've made your on-grid safes, and you use them. Alright. We're going to take a 5-minute break at the moment, and after that, I'll show you guys a demo, and you can sort of see firsthand what's going through my mind and how to accomplish this. So we're back at, let's make it a 10-minute break, at 1400.
Okay guys, while you're waiting, I just thought I'd let you know that this class, which is being given by Mental Mantis, who is a guest from Agony Unleashed, has been brought to you by Battle Group 2. We have a number of events which we're running over the next few weeks to garner some interest in Battle Group 2 and also in the ILN. So if you like this class and you're interested more in PvP, you can always join the ILN and join Battle Group 2. Or you can even just join us for some fleet ops. We have some great FCs who can teach you some of the basics.
Alright guys, it's 1400. The next part, we're going to have a small little demo. Anybody who would like to see this, please warp to Planet 8 at about 100. Warp to 0, we're going to be fighting at 0. And feel free to target any of us, watch what we're doing, our damage that we're taking, etc. Alright, Victor. Victor, if your ship's ready, why don't you come along? So we'll have this fight, Victor versus Miranda. Victor, what I want you to do is warp to any other Celestial. Warp down to Planet 8 at 0. Now, once you're there, you're going to be able to target Miranda a lot faster than he'll be able to target you. Get your scram and whip on him. Watch for drones. As soon as Miranda gets his drones out, start targeting those and blowing them off. On the Rifter, instead of the, let's see, rocket launcher's fine. Yeah, it should be fine. Okay, since you have a micro warp drive fit on there, as soon as you get into range of Miranda, shut it off.
I've got Miranda. So let me get this right. You want me to just spiral in, tackle Miranda, get under the guns, right?
Correct. And just be careful that once you're in range of Miranda, now assume that you don't know what he's fit. So once you're in range and you start taking damage, turn off your MWD. Alright, so Miranda has his drones out, Hobgoblins 2s. Victor, try to focus now. If you get under Miranda's guns, try to focus on the drones. Okay, since I can't target you guys, I'm in my pod. Tell me what's happening, Victor. How are those drones coming?
He keeps pulling them in, so I can't actually shoot them.
That's fine. You'll get them after, he only has 3 out now.
Shall I try web them and then shoot them?
Yes, web the drones and then shoot them. You'll shoot them a lot faster. Do a lot more damage. Keep your scram on, Miranda.
I've got one drone, but he's brought me to about 50%, well, 55% armor.
Yeah, keep under the guns, and once you're done with the drones, it shouldn't be a problem.
Oh, he's going to jam me.
Does he have ECM drones out?
Yeah, he's got one hobgoblin left as well. I'll try and kill that. I'm in about 10% armor now. I think I'm going to probably die.
Once you get rid of the drones, and if you're under the guns, you should be taking hardly any damage.
I'm getting shields back now, which means it's stopped doing damage.
Mm-hmm.
Oops, he hit me. I think I got rid of his drones. I don't know, he could probably launch more. I'll be fucked.
Yep, now if you notice, he's probably not doing much damage to you now, is he?
Actually, none.
Yep. And that's why you get rid of the biggest threat, the largest threat, the first. So yeah, remember to web your drones, web the opponent's drones, and shoot at them. You'll get rid of them very fast.
The web really helped on the drones.
Yes, yes.
I guess I should let Miranda live, yeah, even though he tried to kill me.
What's Miranda's HP like?
He's at about 45% armor, but he's got no way to hit me at the moment. So the fight's over, I guess.
Yep, good job. Good job, guys. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, rifters, frigates in general are very deadly.
Permission to go and repair my ship?
Yeah, go ahead. Alright, I'm gonna take... What the hell? Who's shooting at me? Concord. Damn, Concord! That's why I hate high-sec. Alright, we had a couple of questions. Let me try to answer a few of the questions. Are stabbers a good alternative as a tackler as opposed to, say, frigates? No, not necessarily. I'd say that frigates, especially interceptors, are the best tacklers. Stabbers are great in a small gang. They can be used as heavy tacklers. So you have the fast, squishy tacklers, which are basically your interceptors, like an Ares, a Raptor, etc. And then you have your heavy tacklers, such as assault frigates and cruisers. Stabbers are usually used as heavy tacklers. Getting into T2 items, so brother asks, it's probably safe to say that getting into T2 items as fast as one can makes it for better PvP experiences? Yes. Well, yes and no. I would strongly suggest getting your support skills to being able to fit T2 tanks. It will help you a lot. Especially now, if you're in a frigate, you want to get your navigation skills very high. Be as fast as possible. And if you're not at war and you're out on your own, use rigs. Use rigs on your frigates. They're pretty cheap. How about fits like an NU without a web? Yeah, NU is another one that only has, I think, 2 mid slots. Well, if you can't fit with a web, it doesn't really matter. You probably have more low slots. If you have more low slots, you probably have more tank or it's more gank. So, I mean, it really doesn't matter. If you can't fit a web, you can still go after the drones. as long as you have some sort of a scram or a warp disruptor on your ship, you should be fine. And in Ishkers are amazing solo ships. I soloed in Ishkers for a very long time. Only problem with Ishkers is that every darn person just runs away from an Ishker, and Ishkers are slow. They're very slow. Yeah, kegs, there's nothing wrong with your fit. Either way, a tracking disruptor or a web, they both have uses. Personally, let me try to dig out my fit. You can try it out. This is probably the only Ishker I really fly. It's very, very tanky, very hard to get rid of. Alright guys, thanks for having me. Yeah, sorry about the Concord deal. I didn't know about that. You learn something new every day. I didn't know that if you're in the same fleet, but not in the same corp, you can't shoot at each other. I just assumed that if you're in the same fleet, you can shoot at each other. Kinda gay. Sure, shoot away guys. If you have questions, go ahead. Victor has a very valid question. Yeah, it often gets very intense during a fight. There are so many things you have to look out for, so many, things that you have to do. For example, Victor, in order to minimize the amount of damage that Miranda was doing, had to not only web the drones each time Miranda would pull them back out, but, he would obviously, if this was happening somewhere else, have to keep on spamming D-scan, keep local, keep a watch on local. Yeah, I like to keep local obviously in a separate window. D-scan, I basically spam D-scan once in a while. So, for example, if Miranda pulled his drones back, I would have spam D-scan once and just to check, if there are any ships in the vicinity or not. But yeah, there are a lot of things that you have to look out for. Your first few experiences solo PvPing, you'll probably lose a few ships here and there, but you're gonna learn. You're gonna learn that, there's a certain process through which you go about doing things. Okay, first I'm going to tackle him. After tackling him, I'm going to spam D-scan once. Oh, he has drones out. Okay, start targeting the drones, etc., etc. It becomes, just second nature afterwards. Yeah, it just takes getting used to. Yep, thanks for having me, guys. Are there any other questions that we have? I think I already answered the stabber question. I think tacklers should be interceptors or T1 frigates, and stabbers should be used as heavy tacklers. I think, that's how it should be. Alright guys, have fun out there. Choose systems that you'd like to frequent. Try to get one of the E-UNI directors to allow you to come into Providence and give us a visit at Agony. We'll be more than happy to do 1 versus 1s or, help you out. Unfortunately, the E-UNI doesn't allow you to go into SOAP territory, but, if you can convince a director, hopefully you guys can come there. We enjoy having, more and more PvP over there. You guys will get to learn a lot too.
Yeah, that's a great point. Several of the Unistas have actually have gone on Agony Unleashed classes. In order to do that, they have to drop corp from E-UNI, but that's not a problem. and then they can join something like, for instance, the PvP basic course. And from what I've heard, it's a fantastic course, and I look forward to attending myself in the near future.
And you also do not lose forum access and stuff, so yeah, it's not really a problem.
Bendy, you've been on that class, is that right? And you're about to go on another one as well, so maybe you'd like to tell people about it just quickly now.
Oh, well, yeah, I've attended the basic class, and it was one of the, well, most hilarious nights I had in EVE. I got on about 60 kill mails in an 8-hour-long roam. We had a fight that lasted for about an hour. So we had a fleet commander calling primaries and secondaries for 1 hour straight, and it was, well, great. And I would suggest everybody who is interested in PvP, especially in smaller ship PvP, should try it. And yeah, this weekend is the Wolfpacks class, where, well, I guess about 100 people will go out in destroyers. Everybody will fly a Thrasher, and we will go blow up things in Providence, I hope. I don't know, are there any questions?
Well, that was helpful for me at least, because like I said, I'm looking forward to attending one of those classes soon. Thanks again, Mental Mantis, for giving this class. We hope you can come back and maybe give some more classes again in the future. There are several things in there which you briefly mentioned, which are new to me, and I'd be keen to learn about them in depth. But I guess we've run out of time for today.
Yeah, not a problem. If there's anything in particular you guys are interested in, just let me know. Either me or another ex-BG2 or another Agony guy can help you out with. Yeah, by the way, guys, I was formerly in BG2 as well. I think I was BG2's first logistics officer at the time.
By the way, one thing comes to my mind. If you want to attend one of the Agony classes or roams, be sure to enlist exactly when recruitment opens or enrollment opens, because usually it's, well, closed within a few hours, if not minutes, because so many people want to attend.
Thanks again for coming, guys. We're going to wrap up this class soon. If you have any comments or questions about this class or future classes, don't forget you can also post them on the forums.